everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Artist Spotlight Show. It's your friend Russell K, and we have got a treat for you this morning. We have a renowned author. Her name is Nicole Fronick, and we're going to find out a little bit more about her. How did she get started? And she has a book that's celebrating their 1 year anniversary. We'll talk about that book and that and much more on the Artist Spotlight Show. Special thank you to Mickey and his team for sending Nicole over to the Artist Spotlight Show. We thank those guys for all that they do. Our show is being brought to you by Music Dreams USA Radio Worldwide. We play everything for everyone. And also, the Russell K Morning Show is back. That's right, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on Music Dreams USA Radio. Table and Mike Productions, and also Eagle Street Corporation up in beautiful Asheville, North Carolina, and Biker Babe Barber and Company. And so without any further ado delay, let's welcome our guest, Nicole Fronick. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you, Russell.
Yes, it definitely is an honor to have you here. And, you know, as I mentioned in the opener, you're a very renowned art author. And so can you maybe start off the show by share with our listeners that are watching that we'll be watching later. How did your journey begin? And at what point did you realize, oh, hey, wait a minute here, I might be able to make some money doing this? So can you maybe share that with us?
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting story, and it happened organically. There was a calling, I guess you would call it. And working through corporate America and Fortune 100s, I was answering the same questions continuously for colleagues, for clients, for prospective clients and friends and family. And I just thought, man, maybe I should write a book. I'm answering the same questions. There's these patterns. And once I see a pattern, there's a need. So wrote the book and published it. And yes, as you mentioned, celebrating the 1 year anniversary, the Corporate Coach Approach, a systematic guide to career development. And what I'm really proud of is that it's digestible, it's quick, it's consolidated. It's 20 years and 200 pages because I had to learn the absolute hard way. And I'm really just trying to distill that information so folks can just get a little bit more information the moment it's needed and help them on their way. So turning it into a full company with 2 Horse Productions, and it is one of our service offerings. So it's been a really fantastic, already 3 years the company has been formed and 1 year with the book. So time is flying.
Corporate America, let's talk about that. I mean, that has really, really changed. And, we interview a lot of people, and there's a lot of people talking about the at-will law, and a lot of people think that a lot of these corporations in corporate America are taking advantage of that at-will law, and is getting rid of people for all the wrong reasons. What is since you've been a part of corporate America, I'm sure you've heard this argument before. What is your take on the at-will law?
It's going to vary depending on what organization you're working for and who you're working with. But really, every time I do an interview, I'm also thinking they're not just interviewing me, I'm interviewing them. So you really need to make sure it's a cultural fit for either yourself or the employee that you're hiring or the organization you're working with, because that's going to set the tone. So really doing your homework in advance and understanding that why you may need them, they might need you more. So it's a really good chance to understand it's a two-way street. And if something doesn't feel right, doesn't seem right, that's a conversation you need to have depending on the situation. But no matter what industry or where you go, the same foundation principles apply. Ethical, do the best that you can, support your client, your customer, your team. And if it's not a good fit for you anymore, leave as gracefully as you can, as soon as you can, and just not expend the energy of trying to change a mind or a perception or a company culture. As you said, yeah, it's changed a lot, especially with COVID and return to work. And there are so many nuances, and then working from home, and it's a much different world. I'll talk with those that are interning, and they don't even understand the principle of hanging out around the water cooler because they've never had a water cooler. So there's been so many shifts and turns, but we really have to look at the different laws and regulations and codes and compliances. And if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate you doing that. Another thing too, corporate America, they're really trying to find good people nowadays. It just seems like we're in a society where people don't want to work. I mean, if they do, they work temporarily, and then all of a sudden, they're off to do something different. So I guess my question to you would be now, since you're an expert in corporate America, I would think. I mean, your book and everything, and I've had a chance to check it out, and you've had tremendous career. So, how does corporate America deal with the current workforce, where it's really hard to find people?
It is, and actually my dissertation for my master's was about the blue collar workforce and how there's a lot of individuals in MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, how they're sunsetting in their careers, and a lot of people aren't taking on those trades. But interesting then, since my dissertation and now with AI, and a lot of folks are thinking about what does an AI-proof role look like, they are now turning more to the trades because we are a long way. I've seen the iRobot, and there might be robots one day doing plumbing and electrical, but for the moment, it's really critical to have those hard skills and soft skills that are just going to be AI proof or what an organization is looking for. And there's so many conversations. I always can learn from other people. I'm an expert in a lot of areas, but also I know that I can grow and learn from those that I work with and those I work for. And the key thing is just relationships. If you get a good chemistry and you have a good relationship and they trust you, you are going to stay. They will find something for you. It might be different. You might have to give a little bit. You might have to change your title. You might have to change the amount of work that you're doing or the type of work that you're doing. But if you find a good balance with somebody, they're going to keep you. And I've had a lot of roles when I worked at HP in Germany. We had a contingent workforce of 30 people. Doesn't seem like a lot, but the team was only 100. So 30, that's a pretty good group. And I was the very last contracted worker to leave the team because they always knew I would try. I would figure it out. I would adapt. I would evolve. I would work on something new. So they kept me to the very, very end just because I was willing to try, say yes, give it a shot. So if you have that relationship with your boss, your employer, whomever the case might be, and you're willing to give it a shot, go for it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think a lot of folks are not, like, back to the water cooler. It's a much different environment now. They haven't worked in a physical space. So they're not really understanding maybe the best way to work with somebody. So instead of maybe they're not willing to work, they don't know how to work. They don't know how to approach it because they haven't been coached or guided or mentored. And that might be stifling for them or paralyzed because they just aren't sure how to go about it. So it's interesting, but it's really going to come down to your personality, your attitude, and the situation you've created, the opportunity you've created, or one that's been formed with your skill set. So there's just so many varieties, but it's going to come to the person and their personality type and their willingness to be ambitious.
That was awesome. Thank you. Let's get back to AI. Are you a fan of AI or you're not?
I understand that it's not going to go anywhere. You are better off adapting and adopting and utilizing, and really it can be quite handy for some things. Like an artist looks at a blank canvas and it's going to maybe, oh, what am I going to put on this canvas? So I like to use it as a starting point, just to take off some of the busy work, and as an executive assistant, if you will, just to do the heavy lifting. But it is really miraculous what can be done with AI if it's utilized properly, for good, not evil, I like to say. But I'm neutral because I know it's just something that you're going to utilize. Like when emails came out, oh, we don't need emails. Or virtual, like we're having this call today. I would not have the opportunity to speak with you if it wasn't for technology advancement. So there's pros and cons with everything. Cell phones, it's great. It's so accessible. Can you imagine back in the day, oh, I have to go to the grocery store again because I didn't know we needed lemons or whatever the case might be. Now you just get a text or a phone call, but you're also available 24/7. So blessing, curse, AI technology, but it's here to stay. I think you're better off just adopting. And I'm a fan for the reasons that have helped me with my business and my profession, but some people are still having a difficult time with it. So it's an interesting topic for sure. It comes up quite a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I mean, with our radio station, we do use it, and I'll be, I know we're live on the air right now, but I will tell you that, when we do our interviews, we use AI because, I mean, it helps us give us a really diverse background on the person we're interviewing. And I mean, up to this point, I mean, we've had much success with it. And when we go into the interviews, we're fully prepared for those interviews. And so, I mean, we use it to a point. I think for me, though, for AI, if you have AI in certain areas, not like every area, But if you had in certain areas, I think it could be effective. I know that we also interview musical artists as well. And not one artist we've interviewed likes AI. They feel like AI is stepping into their boundaries. They feel like if they're a musical artist, that they want to be the person in charge of that. They want to be the person that's create that song and present that song, to the general public. And I would agree with them on that. What about you?
Yeah, for mixed media artists, I have a painting in the background by Jackie Reinhardt. She's a local artist to the Black Hills. And I've spoken with a lot of individuals who are painting, creating, developing, and especially songwriters, because it's really hard then to prove your credibility. Did you actually write that song? So I understand from that perspective, yeah, that can be a very touchy subject. And I can see how they would not prefer AI, because then you're on the hook. Oh, well, maybe AI created that. How do we really know you created it? But is it really, it's interesting too, because a lot of artists have had songs written for them by others and people don't know that either. So like ghostwriting. So it's really interesting, the dynamic. But yeah, it's really getting more difficult to prove you are the original creative source behind your work when you have that element in the background. That's, people are always maybe scratching their head like, is this really you? I don't know. So that's why it's really critical to have a personal brand and to maintain that brand so it's consistent. That way, if folks know what to expect from you, and if it's consistent, then it helps with your credibility.
You've had such an amazing career, and I tip my hat to you for that. I've had opportunity, obviously, you probably check this out. We've done the same, and you've had such an amazing career. Let's take a trip down memory lane with you. I mean, are there any special memories as we're going live right now this morning that you want to share with us?
I will say, when I had a chance to work abroad, it was very interesting. I was in Munich, Germany, and I was working at HP. And there was a cafeteria, and I went in there, and there was a table of 30 people, and everyone at that table was from a different country. There was different languages being spoken. I was young, I was in my 20s, and I thought, wow, this is really something different. This is really incredible. And today, still, all of these years later, I'm still really good friends with some of those folks, and I just got a chance to visit with them in Germany about a month ago. So it was really nice that from this odd circumstance with changing locations and changing countries and learning something new, I still have those really strong relationships with people I met years ago. And I always have friends around the world that I can visit with. So that was really a standout moment to cultivate that relationship and keep it going through intentional communication, right? Again, with relationships and forming that. So that was really fun. And meeting Mickey and the team at our book festival last year gave me an opportunity to hook up with the Creative Edge and be introduced to this whole new world, and being on podcast shows like this one today. So those are some really fun memories, past and current, that always kind of strike a moment where I reflect and really appreciative for the journey. So much has happened in between.
How do you come? I mean, you've had an amazing career, and you got so much more ahead of you. How do you deal with adversity?
Adversity, I think just being adaptive and knowing that I can always learn something different. I can always make a new friend. I might get a chance to travel. I might be introduced to a cool new food at a dinner with a client. You just never know. So I always like to roll with the punches. I'm the youngest of four. I think adversity and adaptability was required to survive. I was not expected, and the gap between my siblings and I is 12 years plus. So it was really I came right into an adult household, and I was already treated like an adult. So it wasn't a conventional upbringing. And I think I've always just been very adaptive because of that. I don't know anything different. So for me, I just roll with the punches. I took a few improv classes in high school. That was fun. That helped too. But a lot of the art, the creativeness of being in corporate America is figuring out how you can have creative solutions, how you can bring people together when we're just stuck on one question. Like, let's be creative and think of something differently. So a lot of folks don't associate corporate with creative, but sometimes I've solved a lot of problems from having a creative understanding and background. So that's been really helpful too.
Well, what type of feedback are you getting? You open up the show, talk about your book and the one you're celebrating for 1 year. What type of feedback are you getting from that book?
Feedback I get a lot is, I've seen this before, but I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. I didn't really understand the difference between, say, personal brand and personal reputation, where brand is intentional and reputation is inherited from what people perceive from you, whereas intentional branding, personal branding, you set the tone and you message what you would like people to think of you and expect from you. So that's always really interesting. People are saying, I've seen it, or I hadn't seen it in that light or that perspective. So that's come up quite a bit. And the old resume, people are still chatting. Oh my goodness, I can't believe all these years later with all of these tools, we're still having resumes. And I had a gal that was fresh out of college and was saying, look at my resume. And I thought, okay, there's no way you have all of this experience. Like, it's obvious that AI wrote this for you. It has to match your brand. It has to match your personality. You might get the interview, but you're not going to, likely you will not get the job because it's going to look not consistent. So it's been really interesting to get that sort of feedback from folks.
Yeah, so as you're saying, AI comes into play once again, and kind of like, weeding out the people where, I understand what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing you say is that companies want people to write their own resumes from their, and not using like a different source to come up with the resume to see if they can stand out in front of everyone else to try to get ahead in the job. Is that accurate?
Yes, but companies know you're going to use AI or some sort of software. And to clarify, that's fine if it gives you a draft, but it should be edited and tailored to match your personality and to be realistic of your skill set. Regardless of companies want you to do it or not, it's going to be done. And also the amount of people, where before there'd be 100 people applying for a job because you had to do a cover letter and you had to do all of these tasks. Now there might be 3,000 because it will do it for you. So it's much easier to apply for a job. But if you are not able to answer those tough questions when you have the interview, or you cannot speak to the resume you created, like if you used to have a fake ID back in the day and they ask you your address at the door and you don't know it, well, okay, then obviously this is a problem. So you have to be really considerate about like what you're putting on paper you can actually talk to. Maybe AI can help you enhance your wording so you can be a more proficient wordsmith, but then you better take a journalism class so you can actually write an email that resonates with the type of resume that you submitted. Otherwise they're going to be, did someone write this for you? So it's just back to being consistent and really resonating that this is me and this is what you're going to get from me. Otherwise, you're going to get off on the wrong foot and it's going to be a really difficult time for you. You can fake it till you make it. This is a very common cheesy term, and sometimes you have to just get your foot in the door, but you also want to be thoughtful that whatever others perceive from you is going to be really hard to change later if it's not the right tone that you were looking to achieve.
Let me ask you this. That's a really interesting point. So have you ever done any interviews?
Yes. I've interviewed 4 people. I've interviewed people. Yes, all the above.
All right, let me ask you this then. What's the funniest interview you've ever had?
The funniest interview I ever had. So I went to a company that was for interior design. I had interior design in my background, and they looked at my resume, and interior design was all over the resume at the time. And they just said, so I don't really have the impression that you have a strong interior design background. And I just thought, okay, this tells me 3 things. You already have the role promised to somebody else. You're interviewing me because you absolutely have to. So I just started talking about food, like, oh yes, interior design. Oh, and there's this beautiful restaurant by this place where I was buying furniture one time and I had this amazing sandwich. So I just thought, what the heck? Like, let's at least have some fun, because I'm not going to get this job, nor do I want it. Because if they're being that inconsiderate in the interview, what's it going to be like if I report to them? And now they're paying for my time. So I just started talking about food and lunch and meals, and then I left and I never heard from them and they never heard from me. And it was just a very weird hour of my life that I will never get back. But now at least I have an interesting story for you. So maybe it was all worth it. But yeah, I had like a BLT and I said, oh, I love bacon. What's your thoughts on bacon? Like, I'm not here for ham. And they just thought, like, what is happening? But what are you going to do? I mean, just roll with the punches.
I'll tell you a funny one I had. So,
yes.
Well, as you know, I have like a radio TV background. And I got recruited for a station up in LA. And they flew me up there. And I flew down to LA it was a morning show opportunity. So I walked in there, got there plenty enough time for the interview. And I walked into this office. This office was the size of a mansion. It was huge, right? So I'm sitting there. I got my resume. I got a copy of my demo tape in case they needed it. And I'm sitting there. The interview was at 2 o'clock Pacific time. So I mean, I got there early. So I'm sitting there in a chair and, look at my watch, like, all right, it's 10:02 and all right, where's this guy at? It's two, and the thing is, time kept on going by and I'm like, am I in the wrong spot? I mean, what's going on? And so,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, a lady comes into the room. Mr. K, we have to apologize to you. I'm like, oh, okay. Um, we did want you to come in for an interview, but unfortunately, it was at the wrong location. We need you to go back to New York because that's where our office is. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? And she's, and
I'm going to be really late, just so you know.
and I'm like, you're kidding me, right? And she's like, we're so sorry. She goes, well, look at the bright side, Mr. K. You got a free plane ride. Now you get a free plane ride back.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, oh man. So, I mean, so eventually we did have the interview and everything. And to this day, we're still doing some stuff on the side for them. And then the guy that I finally met, he's like, he apologized. Like, I'm so sorry. It's like, I can't believe that happened. And, the person should have been a little bit more detailed and everything. So that's my funny story.
That is hilarious. I was going to say, oh, you're in the wrong building. And yeah, I mean, imagine today, you're fresh out of college. You've never done an interview. Everything's on the camera. You don't have to race to the office, worry you're on the wrong floor. Where do I park? What do I wear? Oh, my shoe, I twisted my ankle running up the stairs. I'm in the wrong elevator. The door is locked. Like, there are so many stressful moments when you go for an interview that's just eliminated because you log into a screen. And that is maybe going to hinder a lot of folks with that adaptability, that quality, like how do you perform under pressure? But yeah, it's a true story. You're stuck in traffic. And then there's a book in my, chapter in my book, chapter 5, nobody cares. It's like, just get your job done. Nobody cares. They don't want to hear about your dog and the crying and you were late and your alarm didn't go off. Just do the work. Just perform. And it's so funny. You get these interviews and they have, oh, my dog ate my homework kind of scenario. And you're like, oh boy. But when it's them, it's very interesting. Like, oh, you're in the wrong building, or, oh, we forgot, or we missed this, or we were triple booked, or whatever the case might be. And so you said you still work with them today. That's fantastic. But what a funny story.
Let's go back to your book. Are there any chapters in that book that really stand out to you that you like the most? I mean, obviously, as you said in the book, many different chapters, many different scenarios and stuff you're writing about. So, with your recent book you have right now, is there any chapters that stand out to you that maybe are some of your favorite ones?
My favorite, and one that people do not expect, is 3, Write Like a Journalist, because what would that have to do with corporate America and career development? But the art of writing is so critical. You can say the same exact thing in one sentence instead of a paragraph. It takes a lot longer, but you're going to have a much better result. So I took a journalism course in my undergrad that it blew my mind. The lady was phenomenal, the professor. And she just said, write as if each word has the monetary value, because that's how it used to be in print. And I thought, wow, that just really, I never heard it like that. So I dedicated an entire chapter to writing like a journalist. And if anyone is very interested in journalism, just take it through a JC or take something online, but really give it some thought. I never would have crossed my mind to have taken that course. And I wish I would have taken it years and years ago, but some folks are surprised to see that chapter in there. So I really like that. Along with chapter 5, just because it's a nice comic relief midway, like, oh boy, the person who was technologically savvy cannot figure out how to use their microphone on this call for the 18th time. And we have to hear about it for 25 minutes. And you're like, so it's really interesting those 2 chapters.
Let me ask you this. There's a lot of really well-qualified people out there that are doing the right thing, but it just seems like their door's not opening for them. So with you being the expert that you are, what advice would you give that person who's doing all the right things, but the door's not opening for them? What can they do?
Volume. You increase your network. Find experts in the field that you are interested in working in and build that relationship before you need it. Folks say, oh, I'm losing my role, or they're downsizing, or I need to find another job. And what can you do? Okay, what's your timeline? Oh, I lost the job last week. Okay, so now you're coming to me with this emergency. You look desperate. You sound desperate. That's going to resonate. You need to build your relationships in your network and keep it warm, and then have it ready for when you do need it. And a lot of people find that, oh, my emergency is now your emergency and you have to help me. Not really. Don't have to help you. And that is what a lot of people say. Now, if you're in a coaching environment and you're already having these conversations, hopefully you're not getting to that point. But really setting yourself up for success is going to do the pre-work, do the work in advance. And you never know, from those conversations, you might find a role in and of itself that you didn't even know was available just from having those conversations. They might say, oh, I didn't even know you were looking. I was worried about taking you from your current role or your current employer. Oh, this is fantastic. We have an opportunity. So having those conversations, that 10-minute, and don't book an hour on their calendar every day. It's not what I'm saying, but just catch up with people. The art of conversation is slowly being transferred to just social media and just texting. But it's so nice to once in a while just, hey, do you want to get a coffee, or do you want to have a 10-minute conversation, or what's new and cool? What's a fun event? Maybe we can meet up and just say hi and really get that interaction, that face-to-face. So build those relationships. And I know that can be very generic, but really what that means is forming those relationships that are going to have value and behind it. Like I can call you when I need you because you can do the same in return. You're not just going to call me when you need to move your refrigerator again, because we've already moved your refrigerator 18 times because I happen to have a truck, right? And you're like, oh, be the person that you want to answer you want someone to answer your call. But when they see your name, not, oh no, what do they need help with now? You don't want to burn everybody out. So just build your network and keep it warm and be polite and return the favor.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, and great advice, thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about the companies who are struggling right now in corporate America. It just seems like companies are closing left and right now. What is your take on that?
Closing, but also restructuring. I think they grew really fast, really big, especially with COVID. There was a lot of support through different grants and funds, and everyone was just getting money left and right, and stipends and whatever the case might be. And they maybe just outgrew what they really actually needed. So maybe they're just right sizing, but it feels really destructive because, wow, we just laid off 1,500 people. But maybe they grew 2,000 too much and they really didn't have the work or the need, but they just were adding people because they needed it. So scalability is, I think, a lot, maybe look underneath the hood, if you will, like what was the real reason for the downsize or the restructuring, or are they just not providing a service that's needed anymore? It's really hard. Like I try to buy things local, but sometimes you can't find it. And the only place you can find it is a big box online store. And so it's closing smaller stores just because they can't compete. It's too competitive. It's too expensive. And maybe you just have to adapt with your business model and see where that takes you. But I'd say just do your research and see what you can find and look for a company that has longevity, but also is being innovative. And they're just not doing the same way they've done it for 50 years because that works. It might not work in the next 5.
You've heard about iHeartRadio and SiriusXM. A lot of your terrestrial stations are closing one by one, but it seems like iHeartRadio, recently with all the layoffs they've had, they're catching a lot of heat. We were an iHeartRadio station. We're still around. For me personally, I don't like the fact that the heat that they're taking. iHeartRadio it used to be one of the biggest platforms there is. You've heard about that. What is your take on what's going on with iHeartRadio?
I don't have a take. I'm not familiar with that, so I can't speak intelligently to it. But I'd be interested to hear more about from your side. I'm familiar with iHeartRadio, but that is the extent.
They recently they laid off a lot of people, worldwide, and thousands of people lost their job. Because of iHeartRadio downsizing, and also the fact that the station, terrestrial station is being replaced by guys like us, internet radio. Internet radio is coming fast and furious, and so I just kind of want to just get your take on that. With you being in corporate America, seeing like everyone get laid off and everything. How do people deal with layoffs, and how can they rebound their careers? Obviously, you work with the company for a very long time. You put your heart and soul into that company. Next day you walk in the office and they're telling you, well, unfortunately today's your last day. And, it just, how do people in corporate America deal with that?
Yeah, I've experienced this myself, and I actually went back to school as I was already mid-career because my industry just wasn't flourishing. It was during 2008, 2009, the housing crisis. The companies went up. It was a startup. It went up. It went down. Doors were open one day and closed the next. And I went back to school as a result. And it was very interesting because I was maybe 15 years older than my classmates, and they would just say, "Why are you here? You're an adult. Shouldn't you have a job?" And it was just very odd comment, but they were coming from a very young, not understanding, they hadn't been in the world yet. And I said, never think you're that important. I mean, on a spreadsheet, you can be a barcode. You are a service, you're a provider. The company is going to do what's best for them on the bottom line. That's just how it is. They're running a certain budget, and you cannot think that you do not need to keep up your skill set and your network and your value to them. So I think you have to make yourself, you set your position that it's not personal, it's business, and just learn as much as you can at the time. Meet as many folks as you are able to, really put yourself out there and say, yes, I'll give it a shot, I'll try it. And I found good career opportunities from just doing that, or stayed on board with a new division. So just not being the right, oh, the sky is falling, but well, that sucked. I mean, there's no way around it. That was terrible. That wasn't planned, but what can you learn from that, and how quickly can you adapt? Can you pick up some extra work? Can you learn a trade? Can you help at somebody's restaurant? Like, you just have to give it a shot and not take it personal. Okay, fail fast, be upset, kick and scream, get it over with, and then just go forward.
Awesome. I know during our interview this morning, thank you so much. I mean, what a great conversation we're having. And gosh, I mean, our conversations go on forever.
Yeah, very diverse line of questions. It's been fun. I appreciate your time.
Oh, but we're not done yet.
Oh, we're not done. Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, Miss Nicole. I mean, my bad. I forgot to tell you, when you come to our Spotlight show, expect the unexpected. So,
Okay.
with that being said, I'm going to turn over and give you the stage and maybe give an opportunity to maybe talk about something that we haven't covered thus far. The floor is yours, ma'am.
So when you went to New York, finally had this opportunity to go to New York, had you been before? And if you hadn't, what was one thing you were going to see before you left, and why?
Oh, gosh. That's a great question. And so when I went to New York, I mean, it was just the unexpected, really, just getting prepared, being ready. And so when I went to New York, I felt like I was ready. And then it just, in the business that we do, things, and you touched on this earlier, things change in a moment, like we're talking today, right, on this interview. I could get done with this interview today, and things can change in a second. The same thing with New York, right? When you're in New York, you think, okay, everything's all lined up for you, and you know what you're doing, blah blah blah. And next thing you know, things change in a moment. So that's kind of like one thing I've learned, that don't ever get comfortable in the situation you're in, because it's going to change. And when it does change, are you ready for those changes? Are you ready to adapt to what may be coming your way? You may not have noticed about it, but you have to be ready for the change.
Yeah, and some people say learning how to be comfortably uncomfortable, and then you can adapt as you learn. I asked that question because I had gone for work some years ago, and I got up really early one morning, 5 a.m., which is early for me. And I just thought, I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to pick a street and go. And I have no idea where I'm going. I just have to make sure I can make it back in time for my meetings. And I went through this beautiful court and this beautiful flower market and this beautiful cafe. And then I ended up in Grand Central. And it was like I was in a movie. I didn't even know where I was going to be that day. And it was so cool to just walk in and immediately be in this movie set scene. And then there was the Big Apple store, and there was all of these different vendors. And I just thought that was so cool. And then I was walking back the other way, and someone kind of bumped into me and almost spilled my coffee. And I'm like, hey, and I was like, wow, this is so New York. This is so fun. Where in California, you're always in a car. You're in a car. You're in a car. I lived there for most of my life, and you're always in a car, and you don't have that same big city. It's a big city, but it's spread out, versus New York is very consolidated. So I always thought it would be cool to like walk the streets of New York with a coffee and check things out. And I got to have that moment, and it just always resonated with me. I didn't get to see the Statue of Liberty, so maybe one day, but yeah, the unexpected. It's really really an interesting way to go about. Even those work trips can bring you some extra joy when you're out and about in the areas. So that's great.
Yeah,
Did you do any kind of talk show or radios in college, like a DJ or anything that, or in high school that set the tone, or was this a complete career change that found its way organically to you?
I'll share a funny story with you. Before my mom died, I was raised in, my dad was murdered at a young age. So my childhood was actually stolen from me at a young age. And I can remember my mom, in foster homes, and my mom was, working several jobs just to put food on the table. We used to live in this duplex up in New York, and they used to have these called like portable record players. And one of my way of dealing with everything that's going on is I would go upstairs, and I used to pretend I was a DJ. I'd shut the door so no one can hear me, blah blah blah. Right? Then I'm playing around this portable record player. My mom used to sneak up the stairs, and she used to listen to me, and she would never let me know she was there. But and then one day she says, "One day you're gonna be a radio DJ. You're gonna be a DJ." I'm like, "Oh yeah, right." And so I went to Erie Community College, and I got my degree in of all the food service management. So
Okay.
I did that for one day. I'm like, this ain't for me because you have to work weekends and holidays and all that. So I'm like, no, I gotta find something different. So from there, I went to Columbia School of Broadcasting and got my degree. And I did my internship at KISS 98.5. I had the opportunity to work with, Mark the Shark Richards, Dan Rinelli. These guys are the best of the best. And I had an opportunity to learn from them. Mike McGowan, Jazz Snyder, who gave me an opportunity. And I took advantage of those, right? And slowly but surely, from going to school to become a food service manager and transitioning over to, radio and TV, I just knew in my heart that that's what I wanted to do. And so I've DJ'd, MC'd, I've done, we just got back from NASCAR. We did a NASCAR series, covered that for them. We've done Merle Fest. So, yeah, to answer your question, DJing, MCing, radio, everything. I just love what we're doing right now. And, I've been totally blessed. And the Artist Spotlight Show, who in the world would have thought I'd be interviewing, an amazing, author like yourself, an expert in what you do. Who would have thought that would ever take place? But, things happen for a reason. And, I look back now, I was like, something, Mom, you were right.
You're right. And she would just love to hear that, right? They do. It's very interesting that she was right. And they often are. And my mother was a dietitian when I was young, and she didn't want me to eat this and that and the other. I thought, no, it's not going to hurt me. I'll eat it. Go to my friend's house and I would eat it. And I'm like, she was right. I don't feel good. But yeah, but a much smaller scale. But that is really, really great that you found solace and an opportunity to put that to the side and really have that creative expression. So I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Oh, no, thanks. I like the interview. Hey, you got some more questions? Let's go.
It's interesting too, because like you said, I might not be a standard person that you might interview, but you never know what shows you're going to be on, who you're going to speak with, what you're going to learn. And I love music. I'm not very great at playing it, but I enjoy it and I appreciate it. I took courses, so I understand the complexity behind it. So I always have some kind of another odd corporate tip, but the point is you can learn about something from doing it yourself in the most interesting ways, like how to paint or how to perform how to play a musical instrument, or understanding the properties behind it, like what that person goes through to be in their shoes, right? Another cheesy saying, but understand from their perspective. And you might be able to connect with them on a different way that maybe somebody else hasn't tried, because they don't go to their creative level, or they don't understand that, oh, I don't want to do the business aspect of my company. I just want to create all day. Well, that's fantastic. But if you create art all day and you're not marketing, you're not promoting, no one's going to know that you have that art to show them and share with them. So you have to be able to understand their perspective so you can adapt and help them along their journey. So I've had a lot of different clients in a lot of different industries, and just as you're interviewing different people in different professions. So a lot of good range for sure, for certain.
Awesome. Well, as we wind down our show this morning, thank you so much. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, when I look back at the interviews we do, one thing that I do is I also go back, I look at it. What could I have done differently? What can I learn from? What questions did I not ask that I should have asked? So, yeah, I love hearing you say that because, no matter what you do, you're never going to be perfect. You're always going to learn. You're always going to grow. And feedback is a blessing. Without the feedback, how can you learn and grow? Would you agree?
I do. And feedback for some is very difficult. So it has to be constructive and also has to feel genuine in that, oh, I liked it. It was really great. That's not really feedback. That's a statement. Feedback would be, it was great because. And so in this case, you asked a range of questions. You gave me a chance to answer. And there's a good flow and there's a good chemistry. And so the feedback is just have more volume. Let's chat with as many folks, a lot of different industries, like what you're already doing. And that's a really nice way to have those interesting conversations for the listeners is too. They might dial in and not expect to hear from a corporate coach. And so like, oh, that was different. That was fun. And I learned something about iHeartRadio today. So that was a good learning for me as well.
Let's talk about Mickey and Creative Edge. During our interview, I've heard you say several times about networking, getting your name out there, networking, getting in contact with the right people. I mean, obviously, Mickey's not the only ticket in town. I mean, there's other people that do the same thing he does. But what did he do that really stood out to you as like, you know what, I need to work with this guy?
We actually had a chance to meet at a book festival, and I was moderating the panel that he was on. So I met with him and one of his authors, Ann Charles, and we just had a great chemistry. He was very warm. We could right off the bat start engaging, and it felt like we were old friends. And I thought, there's no other need to look anymore, because if you're already feeling that way, that's half the battle is, do I have a good chemistry? Do they hear me? Do they listen? And it just felt comfortable. And so it's a really great group. We have, I think, over 114, don't quote me, clients that he supports, and such a broad range. I've been on 3 or 4 dozen podcasts and interviews and opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise. So it's a really good collaboration, and we have monthly calls and we get to chat with the group and see what's new and hot and different. And it's been a really good opportunity all the way around. So also 1 year coming up in September, and it feels like it's been a lot longer, but for the right reasons.
Any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience or watching now, we'll be watching later?
Have a wonderful rest of the summer, of the year. Everything is going so fast. It's just incredible to really see how things can adapt and change when you say yes and give it a shot. So just think, what can I do today that's going to be awesome as I'm building for the future? Maybe today is just going to be a small step for this greater. You can't have this amazing milestone every day of your life. If you do, call me, let me know how you've done that. But there are going to be big moments in your life that you're working towards. So just really do something a little bit every day to balance and center and enjoy that moment for the moment, not just always think about the future or worry about the past, but know that something great's going to happen at the end, and then celebrate when you get there. So just look forward to every day. Time goes quick.
Oh, you're not whistling Dixie on that one. Corporate America, I mean, we're probably going to have people from Corporate America watching right now. I mean, we have an expert on the show this morning. What is your message to Corporate America?
Give everybody a chance to impress you with the skills that they bring. Everyone is so unique. Give them an opportunity. Pass around the opportunity. Let everybody have a chance to throw their hat in the ring. You never know who you might meet, what team you might create in doing so.
How can our listeners are watching now and will be watching later, how can they get in contact with you?
So it can be through our website, twohorseproductions.com, also on Instagram, Facebook, and at the bottom of our homepage, we'll find all the links to all of our socials. So really appreciate everybody following, watching, and we try to do fun stuff. We do a horsing around segment on our social medias where we just put fun pictures and posts throughout the time just to keep it fresh and interesting. But yeah, those are how you can find us. And Corporate Coach Approach is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. And just always love to hear from readers and be a part of these conversations.
And what an honor it's been to have you on the show, as I mentioned, and what a great time we've had. And again, thank you for all that you do. And I had an opportunity to review your book, the one we talked about for the year. And wow, I mean, there's some pretty cool things in that book, and it's almost like a guide. It's almost like a work guide, where no matter what situations you're going through, I mean, it's almost you can go into your book, and there's to be an answer in your book that may be something you're going through. Would you agree?
I would agree. And that's why I wrote it in such a consolidated format. And every chapter is the same. A story that worked well for me, a story that didn't, a comparison. Here's some best practices at the end. If you only have a minute before a conference call, go to the meetings page, best practices, read the list 1 through 10. You might not get promoted. You might not get fired. Maybe it will save the day. Maybe something will catch your eye like, ooh, I didn't think about that. So I appreciate the comments. I really do, because it was meant for others. This is already the stripes and the hard part and all of the heartburn that I've had. I just want others to have the opportunity to dive in when they need it, pick a chapter. You don't have to read it front to back, and just see what might resonate with you at the time.
Well, again, thank you again for being here. Again, the Art Spotlight Show. Nicole Fronick has been with us this morning. She's an expert in corporate America, and wow, what an interview! I mean, I've learned a lot from this interview. I'm sure you have as well. If you're an upcoming inspiring artist, you want to come on the show, info.musicdreamsusa@gmail.com. Special thank you to Mickey and Creative Edge and his team for supplying all the amazing artists that we've had on the show thus far. Our show is being brought to you by Music Dreams USA Radio Worldwide. Make sure you check out the Russell K, Alexa, and Heather Daniels morning show, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eagle Street Productions, Table and Mic Productions up in Nashville, and also Biker Bay Barber and Company. Thank you guys so much for promoting the Artist Spotlight Show. Until the next time, it's your friend Russell K. wishing you yours a very pleasant good day, and thank you so much for watching the Artist Spotlight Show.